Hi everyone, Jonathan here, once more with a pair of really interesting guns. Now, in terms of our social media guessing game that we do with this series, pretty unfair because I've never seen anything like this, either in person or even online. I think we'd have to trawl through some auction catalogues to find anything quite like them. They have a number of interesting features. If you've figured out what these are, you deserve to give yourself a good old pat on the back. Yeah, there are some of the features you might have spotted. We'll definitely give you some points for that. So, these are a pair, as you can see. Let's just talk through what we can see. I can give you a little bit of historical background on these, not too much. So if we look at them in profile, right away, for something that's clearly vintage, clearly antique in age and in style, where the hell is the hammer? That's probably the first thing you would notice looking at these. So I can tell you these are percussion fired, so it is a hammer and not a cock, which is the term used for the flintlock predecessor of the hammer, effectively, without getting too much into detail on that. There's nothing visible. Now, various ways to fit a hammer at this time. For something of this size, which is sort of between coat pocket and, well, it's probably more what I'd call a travelling pistol. Normally, that would be fitted on the side. Well, we have something on the side here already, so we can't put the hammer on the side. We could make it a left-hander and have the hammer arc over the top so that you can reach it with your right hand. Or we could go box lock, which is basically what these are. These are a lock comprised of a main body and then a plate on the top. Classic box lock guns are built up from side plates, top plate, bottom plate. But I'd still probably call this box lock, but it is pretty unusual. So I'll put you out of your misery and show you this is in fact an underhammer system. And the hammer is the trigger guard, which is pretty remarkable. Never seen anything quite like that. We have a number of underhammer pistols and long guns as well. And as a weird aside, the vampire killing kits that are out there, some of those feature underhammer guns as well. Notably the ones that are shaped like crosses. So it's a gun shaped like a cross with an underhammer system, so as not to have a hammer sticking up and ruin the lines of the cross. So that's a bit of a specific use case, as it were. Underhammer, it was just another way of doing a hammer. It makes the gun more unobtrusive. You don't normally make the trigger guard the hammer. That's, I mean, to my knowledge, unique. I'm sure that's not true. I'm sure there are others out there that do that. But so really interesting. You would so it still functions somewhat as a trigger guard for safety purposes, but obviously you wouldn't want to run around with these cocked anyway. And I won't let it fire off because it will damage the nipple. Just try and show you inside here. So that firing nipple is recessed into the action. Normally it would sit somewhat proud. Here it's fully recessed, so there's a big old well in the brass body of this pistol, and the nipple sits well within it. So very much in line with the chamber. So it'll have a little sort of, almost like a patent breech chamber that runs into the body, which is again unusual. And the vent is directly adjacent to that. So very quick to ignite this thing. Not that it makes any practical difference, but it would be ever so slightly quicker to ignite. I can't fire it off to demonstrate for you because I don't want to damage the thing, but I can very light trigger pull, and then the trigger guard / hammer drops. So just to try and give you a demonstration, I'll pull the trigger from this side so you get a better view. Very light trigger pull, and there it goes. So the hammer doesn't drop, it goes up. That alone would make these worth featuring, I think. Other features, well, I've already talked about the fact that you can't, or they've chosen to not put a hammer on the side, and therefore there is another feature. I can now demonstrate that feature for you. I'll do it just the once. We don't do this to antiques unless there's a good educational value in doing so, i.e. operate them. So I will show you what this is. That is pretty cool, I think you'll agree. This is a form of spring bayonet that you will find on blunderbusses. and indeed other pistols. But the combination of that spring-loaded flick-out bayonet on a pistol with the underhammer trigger guard system might make these unique. I don't know. If anyone has come across anything like these, please do let us know in the comments. It kind of gets more mundane from there. I've given you the best first, but we do have the maker, which is great. So just to sum up the rest of this thing, these things I should say, octagonal barrel. The brass body I've already spoken about. There is somewhat Belgian-esque. Well, it's of a style that's on Belgian and English pistols, to be fair. But foliate decoration on the body and on this top plate, which I believe is an alloy called Teutonag or Pactong, sometimes called German silver. Pretty sure that's what that's made of. I don't believe that is a ferrous piece. Not a great fit in the stock for some reason, but nonetheless. There's a little silver escutcheon plate on the butt there. That's quite common. And given the date line here, which is later than 1841, for reasons that I'll explain in a moment, the shape of the butt is quite typical of that era, and it's checkered for a grip. We have under the barrel the all-important ramrod, rammer. How else are you going to load this thing? And it's a captive type, so you can bring it up and it pivots straight into the bore and straight back under the barrel. Not uncommon by any means. A little bit of decoration, a little flower on the cap of the rammer there. Don't know if you can make that out. Little flourish that's not so common. Even little bits of decoration. None of this is particularly fine, by the way, but it's there nonetheless. I should just point out on that trigger guard hammer, it is shaped. I'll point it in the direction of the camera. It is shaped either side to let you get a good purchase on it to cock the thing. Because you can imagine if this was shaped like a normal trigger guard, albeit a chunky one, you don't want to be slipping off if your fingers are sweaty or wet or whatever. So that is quite well designed to make it easy to cock. Really quite remarkable little pistols. And just finally for design features, we have a full set of sights. That in itself is uncommon for the 1840s, 50s. I'll try to line those up for you, or at least show you them together. So a little brass bead front sight, where my finger is, and then formed from the top plate, so also made out of Teutonag, is a tiny little notch rear sight. That's a fair degree of precision for a smoothbore pistol of this period. So, who the heck made these things? Well, luckily, we have the maker's name, which is pretty common for antique firearms, inscribed on the top flat of the barrel, which hopefully I can catch for you. And that is Joseph Bentley. Actually, it only says Bentley, Liverpool, but we know that that is Joseph Bentley. Now, those of you who know percussion revolvers, a little flag will be going up in your brains because Joseph Bentley, it's that Joseph Bentley, or at least it's his name, because this is a Liverpool-based subsidiary of the Birmingham-based Joseph Bentley, who made the Bentley patent percussion revolver. If you don't know about that, go and look that up. They're pretty fascinating, cool British revolvers in the first place. But it goes to show that circa 1850, I'm going to put a finger in the air on that and call it at about 1850, his company, almost certainly not him, with its subsidiary in Liverpool, still making these single-shot pistols. For those of you who either live in Liverpool or are interested in its industrial history, there are two addresses associated here. So South Castle Street and Russell Street in Liverpool between 1841 and 1873 are where this Bentley sort of outstation was operating and when it was operating. Hence why I say these are probably about 1850. Now, the downside of them having so many unconventional features is they're a little harder to date. Muzzle-loading percussion pistols were a thing well into the 1860s. perhaps even later for traditionalists, but I don't think traditionalists who like single-shot percussion pistols would be tolerating wacky underhammers with spring-out bayonets. That to me seems like more of a gadget guy choice. Maybe not an early adopter, but someone who likes interesting, wacky technology. So I would put them before the widespread introduction of revolvers. We know that Sam Colt's patent was 1835, 1836 in the US. It took a good decade or so for those things to catch on. So round about 1850 is what I'm saying for these. Now, we always have to consider, why would you make these and why would you buy these? Well, as I say, I do think this is probably more of a gadget thing, a cool thing to show the chaps in the drawing room, perhaps. But someone may have purchased them with a serious self-defense intent. They would certainly have a bit of an intimidation factor, I think. They don't match the classic silhouette of a pistol of the time, so any sort of criminal that might be setting upon you would be taken aback by these things. And then when you flick out that bayonet, I think they're going to rethink their life choices. So there's potential here that these were practical self-defense weapons. The bore, incidentally, is in old money 36 bore, or just over 50 caliber, or 12.9 millimeters for those of you who use modern measurements. So not big by the standards of the day, but plenty big enough to deliver a fatal injury at close range. And with those sights on the top, with a bit of skill, this is a fairly capable self-defense system for that very brief time frame before revolvers become available, affordable, and popular. You're only getting 2 shots with these things, and you have to carry 2 guns to achieve it. As always, thank you very much for watching this episode of What Is This Weapon? We are a charitable organisation here at the museum, as I'm sure you know, so we very much appreciate any donations that you might like to send our way. Link in the description as to how to do that. Otherwise, of course, we're very happy that you watch us here on YouTube. You can also check out the GameSpot channel, where we make regular appearances as well, and our various social media outlets, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You're welcome to check out all of those as well. In any case, we'll see you again next time.